Federal agents dismantle massive drug trafficking network in Philadelphia's Kensington, Philadelphia, PA, in one of the most significant law enforcement operations in the city's history. Federal agents from the FBI and DEA have dismantled what authorities describe as one of Philadelphia's most powerful and entrenched drug trafficking networks in a sweeping pre-dawn raid across the Kensington neighborhood, ground zero for the city's opioid epidemic. Dozens of suspects were taken into custody as part of Operation Weymouth Block, a massive federal strike aimed at reclaiming streets long gripped by narcotics and violence. According to the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of Pennsylvania, 33 defendants have been indicted on charges of conspiracy to distribute narcotics, money laundering, and violent crimes in aid of racketeering. Officials are calling it the largest narcotics conspiracy case filed in the district this century, a pre-dawn operation that shook Kensington awake. The scale of the operation was unmistakable. Sirens wailed through the narrow streets as helicopters hovered overhead, SWAT teams fanned out, and armored vehicles blocked intersections. Agents in tactical gear swept through rows of brick row houses before sunrise, executing simultaneous raids at more than 20 locations. Residents, many of whom had grown accustomed to the daily sounds of gunfire and drug dealing, watched in disbelief as federal agents flooded their blocks. For many, the sight was both startling and long overdue, a long-awaited effort to reclaim a community many believed had been lost to addiction and fear. The fall of the Weymouth Street drug trafficking organization. The center of the operation stood the Weymouth Street Drug Trafficking Organization, DTO, a powerful and violent network that authorities say dominated open-air drug markets in Kensington for nearly a decade. Federal prosecutors described the group as a criminal enterprise operating like a corporation, complete with hierarchies, defined roles, coded communications, and 24-hour shifts. This wasn't a street corner crew, said one federal official. It was a business. Members allegedly worked in rotating shifts, keeping drug corners operational day and night. Every sale was logged, every runner paid, and every rival dealt with, often violently. Profits, investigators say, were laundered through layers of handlers and front businesses, generating millions of dollars over the years. A criminal empire. With military discipline at the top of the organization, investigators identified Jose Antonio Morales Nevas, known by his street name, Flaco. Based in Puerto Rico, Flaco is alleged to have controlled the entire supply chain, overseeing operations that stretched from the Caribbean to the streets of Philadelphia. Beneath him, lieutenants managed local distribution networks, enforced discipline, and handled the cash flow. Street-level dealers, lookouts, and armed guards carried out day-to-day operations, ensuring that addicts were supplied and that police stayed away. Federal agents said the group's control over the 3100 block of Weymouth Street was absolute, so complete that the area functioned as a self-contained economy with its own rules, hierarchy, and enforcement. Inside the raided properties, investigators discovered dozens of firearms, hundreds of rounds of ammunition, and multiple kilograms of fentanyl, heroin, and cocaine. Alongside the drugs were stacks of cash, digital ledgers, and encrypted cell phones, tools of a tightly controlled operation. Each batch of narcotics was stamped with a unique WAY logo, allowing the organization to maintain brand loyalty among buyers, a tactic prosecutors compared to franchise marketing in the corporate world. Fear, silence, and control, according to investigators. The Weymouth DTO ruled through fear and silence. Witnesses who cooperated with authorities disappeared or were driven out, and rivals were eliminated through intimidation and violence. Locals referred to it as the rule of silence, a code that for years kept law enforcement at arm's length. Many residents simply stopped calling the police, fearing retaliation. "People here learned to live with the gunfire," said one longtime resident. "You just hoped it didn't come for you." Years in the making, the case that brought down the Weymouth organization began in 2020, when the FBI and DEA launched a joint intelligence effort under the Project Safe Neighborhoods initiative, a federal strategy designed to connect local street crime with national and international trafficking networks. Through wiretaps, surveillance, and controlled buys, agents slowly pieced together the structure of the organization. By 2025, the evidence was overwhelming. Federal analysts traced the drug supply chain back to Puerto Rico and along the Gulf Coast, identifying couriers, stash houses, and cash handlers. Profits were laundered through front businesses and shell accounts, confirming what investigators had long suspected. Kensington wasn't an isolated crisis. It was part of a global trafficking network. The coordinated raids began just before dawn on October 24, 2025. Drones captured the dramatic operation from above, armored vehicles breaching row houses, suspects being escorted in handcuffs, and agents loading bags of evidence into unmarked vans. By sunrise, 24 of the 33 defendants were already in custody. The rest were being tracked down across state lines, and U.S. territories, not federal, officials hailed the operation as a turning point in the fight to reclaim Philadelphia's most troubled neighborhood. This takedown represents years of work by countless agents, analysts, and community partners, said an FBI spokesperson. Kensington has been through enough. Today marks the beginning of taking it back. For the residents who woke to the sound of helicopters and the sight of armored trucks on their block, it was a morning they won't soon forget, a moment when the rule of silence finally broke, and a community long held hostage by addiction and violence saw the first real sign of hope. Philadelphia, PA. Federal agents have struck a decisive blow against what authorities describe as one of the most powerful and violent drug trafficking networks in Philadelphia's history, dismantling a fentanyl and heroin empire that ruled the Kensington neighborhood for nearly a decade. In a massive early morning operation dubbed Operation Weymouth Block, the FBI and DEA, supported by Philadelphia police SWAT teams, executed coordinated raids across the city, taking down the Weymouth Street Drug Trafficking Organization, DTO, a structured criminal enterprise accused of flooding the city with lethal narcotics. Authorities called the takedown the largest narcotics conspiracy case filed in the Eastern District of Pennsylvania this century, marking a defining moment in the city's decades-long battle with addiction, violence, and despair. A city awakened by the sound of justice before dawn. Sirens wailed through Kensington's narrow streets. Helicopters hovered overhead, and armored vehicles sealed intersections. Federal teams in tactical gear fanned out across more than 20 locations, breaking through fortified row houses long known to residents as drug dens. By sunrise, 24 of the 33 indicted suspects were in custody. 8 others were already jailed on related charges. Only one fugitive remained at large. Inside the raided properties, agents uncovered enough narcotics to supply the city's open-air markets for months, including kilos of fentanyl, heroin, and cocaine, alongside high-powered weapons and tens of thousands of dollars in cash hidden behind false walls and furniture compartments. This is not just a drug bust, one federal agent said. It's the removal of a criminal business that poisoned an entire community. Inside a criminal empire, digital forensics teams arrived within hours, recovering data from shattered phones and encrypted SIM cards. Investigators say the recovered information is already helping them map out a broader network of suppliers and financiers stretching from Puerto Rico to the Gulf Coast. Federal officials described the Weymouth DTO as a case study in modern cartel evolution, proof that organized crime no longer needs jungles or border tunnels to thrive. They build local empires inside American cities, one investigator said, using fear, loyalty, and poverty as infrastructure. For nearly a decade, the 3100 block of Weymouth Street functioned like an independent kingdom. Federal prosecutors allege that the organization replaced local governance with its own system of payrolls, taxation, and enforcement. They were a government built on fear, said one investigator. And today, that government fell. The business of control, the seized evidence painted a chilling picture of the DTO's sophistication. Handwritten ledgers documented daily profits of up to $80,000, complete with pay scales, supply quotas, and penalties for underperformance. Surveillance footage captured armed guards maintaining order at drug corners, while coded communications tracked sales and customer activity with business-like precision. Each drug package bore a distinctive Way logo, a branding tactic designed to create customer loyalty in the underground marketplace. Every sale was logged, every dollar accounted for, and every worker tracked. The FBI confirmed that data extracted from seized phones has already been linked to Caribbean smugglers who provided chemical precursors used in fentanyl production, as well as contacts in Baltimore, Chicago, and Atlanta, suggesting the Kensington operation was part of a national trafficking web, years in the making. The investigation began quietly in 2020, when federal agents launched a joint intelligence effort under the Project Safe Neighborhoods Initiative, a federal program designed to connect local violence to national trafficking pipelines. Over 5 painstaking years, FBI, DEA, and Philadelphia police worked side by side, using wiretaps, controlled buys, and surveillance to build a case capable of dismantling the organization from the top down. Their patience paid off. There's indictments. 24 arrests in one morning, 8 prior detentions, more than 20 firearms seized. Federal officials called it one of the most complex and coordinated urban raids in modern U.S. history. The aftermath. A community begins to heal as dawn broke. Residents watched from their porches and windows while agents cleared corners that had been occupied for years. Parents stood in silence as the last suspects were loaded into vans. For the first time in a decade, some said they could hear something unfamiliar in Kensington: silence. Instead of gunfire, federal prosecutors called it the end of an era. The Weymouth organization had controlled this neighborhood longer than some police officers have been in service, one official said. They ruled through fear. Now that reign is over. City workers have already begun clearing vacant lots once used as stash sites. Outreach teams are on the ground offering housing, treatment, and recovery services to those displaced by the collapse of the drug market. Community leaders say the road to recovery will be long, but for the first time in years, there's real hope. You cannot rebuild while armed traffickers run the block, said U.S. Attorney Jacqueline Romero. Now, this community can finally breathe, a model for the nation. The Justice Department hailed the Philadelphia takedown as a national model for how intelligence sharing and coordination can uproot even the most entrenched criminal enterprises. Officials confirmed that Homeland Security analysts are now tracing the organization's financial infrastructure, linking offshore shell companies and seizing assets tied to laundering operations. The investigation remains open as prosecutors pursue additional money laundering and racketeering charges against remaining co-conspirators. 4. Federal law enforcement. The message is clear: the fight is far from over. For every empire dismantled, others are already adapting. But Operation Weymouth Block has set a precedent, proof that through intelligence, persistence, and unity, even the deepest criminal networks can be dismantled from within. A new beginning for Kensington tonight. The streets of Kensington are quieter. Federal patrols remain on watch. Families sweep porches that once concealed drug money. For a neighborhood once known as America's epicenter of fentanyl, the transformation is fragile, but possible. For Philadelphia, this was more than a raid. It was a statement. No matter how deep its roots, no criminal empire can outlast the law forever.